Hi, my name is Bill Callahan with Connect Your Community, and this is one of a series of conversations on Zoom with folks who've been involved in digital inclusion work in Cleveland before and after we were all hit by the COVID crisis last February. Today we have Curt Williams, who is with the Cleveland Foundation. He's a digital inclusion fellow. I think that's right. Digital innovation fellow, I'm sorry.
Yep.
And has been with the foundation working with their chief of digital innovation, Leon Wilson, since last summer, actually since the summer before last. And so he's had a ringside seat for the ways that people in the institutional and funding and corporate communities have been involved in the whole issue of digital equity and connectivity over the last year. So we wanted to talk to Curt about what that's looked like. And I just want to start off, Curt, thank you very much for being with us.
Absolutely.
With, a straight up question of how did the environment for digital inclusion work that you saw as working with a funder who was very much involved, how did that change in terms of other funders and corporate and institutional leadership that the foundation works with between, let's say, January and April this year?
Yeah, so I mean, first, thank you again for having me on. And as you know, before the pandemic, before everything hit, we had to take kind of a systems level approach, but work from the grassroots up. So as somebody who's been in this space for 20 years, you well know how we were doing before. A lot of our work was through public computing centers and libraries and wherever else we really could work with who was really interested in this issue. Not to say that other people weren't interested in this issue, it just might not have been a priority at that time. But then come around March, when everybody has to shelter in place and everybody kind of wakes up to this being a first year issue, we got a lot more interest from our partner funders. And there were a few people who were kind of in the game who we had established relationships with, who were leveraging our dollars, such as Huntington and the AT&T Foundation last year, setting up a lot of digital skills training. But then once the pandemic hit, people realized that digital inequities cut across education, cut across healthcare, cut across all these social services. If people don't have access to the internet and need to stay home, then their business is going to be affected. And so there were a ton of new people in this space, which was fantastic to see everybody kind of working together to do and fund where they could help out in kind of their specific area. A lot of the corporate community is also in Greater Cleveland has shown out. I'll mention a specific example. The Eaton Corporation has been great with providing computers to PCs to people to refurbish. And get out there again for our low-income families with students and for job seekers as well.
So do you think that change has altered the way that that you personally and that the foundation kind of see the possibilities or see the strategic trajectory for closing the digital divide in Cleveland? Do you think that with all the new level of interest in the different kinds of players, that makes a serious difference in the way you think about that?
Absolutely. I mean, we've always had a systems level approach, as I mentioned before, because we have to, but the more hands on deck, the easier, sometimes harder because there are more voices in there. But the easier it'll be because everybody can pick up the slack where in their respective network and their community. And that's not just at the funding level, it can be at just the advocacy, the awareness level, making sure that people are aware that either from a donor perspective that, hey, this is an issue, this is what some people are facing and they need help, or from a needs level that, hey, these resources are available to you. You can access them if you need.
Is there any particular part of the digital inclusion equation that you think is going to get the most support from this environment, and what part might not so much? I mean, just for people who don't automatically know what that means, we talk about affordable connectivity and affordable devices and affordable and available training, community training is kind of the three legs of the stool, or however that figure of speech works. But I know that's something that the foundation has really adopted as an approach. And I just wonder if you see more, the strategic changes being more in one of those or others.
Well, we obviously need them all. That bottom line, if you don't have any of the legs of the stool, as you mentioned, it's difficult to be fully connected, because if you have a computer and internet, you obviously need the skills to stay safe on the internet, because you're connected to the entire world. I do see a lot of interest and a lot of potential in the digital skills training in that area, because it connects to so many different levels of what people are doing already. Because first you need, in a digital economy, first you need basic literacy, reading and writing. And then you need digital literacy, so just how to work a computer, how to do email. And then you might need technical skills, if workforce level skills, so how to do how to use specific software, and things like that. I think there are a lot of opportunities in there, because both in the foundation world and the corporation world, there's a lot of potential, so to speak, return on investment for them. It can lift everybody up that way. And I'm going to touch on all three, because we do need all three. In the device world, I think that we've come a long way with PCs for People being in Cleveland. Have access to a low-cost, sometimes free device if they meet certain eligibility requirements. Might not otherwise be able to afford a computer at Best Buy or a computer at Apple. Whether people know about it or not is a different story, and that's where we have to do a lot of good old-fashioned organizing to make sure the word is out. But the computer is available to people just by having PCs for People here. And then the connectivity piece is definitely a lot trickier, just because of the complexities of everything in that space, with how expensive it is to build out internet. And I do see a lot of potential in digital Cs of affordable option here in Cleveland. And then there will be a role to play for everybody, for AT&T and Spectrum, the other two providers of internet in Cleveland.
Why don't we finish off? If you could talk a little bit about the Digital Equity Coalition, something I should have asked you to talk about a little earlier, but since you've been doing a lot of the staffing for that, maybe you could talk a little bit about that, what it is and how it's working.
For sure. This Greater Cleveland Digital Equity Coalition is where we've been talking to all of the different organizations in Cleveland, funders, grassroots orgs, to get the word out, actual practitioners who do the digital skills training and who give out the affordable PCs. Back in April, there was definitely a real appetite from people in the community to be on the same page. We saw at the Cleveland Foundation, from our perspective, we saw a lot of different things going on, a lot of great things going on all around the city. But people weren't necessarily talking to each other, or somebody over here didn't know what was going on with somebody over there, and there was a real opportunity to work together. So we pulled together this coalition we didn't really invite people. We kind of let the word get out by itself, and just to make sure everybody was on the same page, had this opportunity to make connections, to work together. As we advocate at the state level and the federal level for dollars coming into digital equity, make sure that we all have one unified voice, and we understand what our broad general plan is going forward. Obviously, there's not one digital equity organization in Cleveland who's driving all this. It's just a decentralized ton of work going on, but making sure that we're unified. If dollars were to come into the region, we know what we would do with them and where they would go. And so the coalition has really done a lot the last few months. It's been a great opportunity for connections to be made, and a lot of people who weren't necessarily involved in the digital equity space before the pandemic have gotten involved through that coalition. And so we're really excited about the work that's come out of it, and excited for where it'll go, especially hopefully as these federal and state bills get passed.
So, and it's just worth mentioning that the formal leadership of the coalition is being held really by the county and the school district. The Greater Cleveland Partnership, which is, I think, the biggest regional chamber of commerce in the country by its own standard, is very much involved, and a lot of other major institutions are, the major libraries and so on. So it's actually, when we talk about it, the participants that you were talking about, there are some fairly heavy hitters, as well as people who've been working in the space at the community level for a long time. Well, thank you very much. That was great. And thank you very much for joining us, and happy Digital Inclusion Week.
Happy Digital Inclusion Week. Keep getting the word out.